that's not a ute. This is a ute. This is the new Ram 2500 heavy duty. It's the biggest and sort of, well, torquiest pickup truck that Ram offers in Australia. The 2025 model gets an updated design, so you've got a revised front end, different trimmings and so on, and they all come with the kind of black pack, so all blacked out badges and all that sort of thing, black alloy wheels, and a revised rear bumper bar with new indicators. It looks really good, really tough, especially the front end, different to the Ram 1500 with the separated headlights with the split in the middle, and you've got the big bulging bonnet there as well. You've got the 2500 and the 3500. They're both pretty much the same, just different suspension and towing and load ratings and so on, but same package on the outside. The main attraction to the heavy duty is obviously the towing and hauling capability. 4.5 ton towing rating with a 70mm ball on both the 2500 and 3500, or up to 8,000 kilograms if you use a gooseneck and air brakes. That's absolutely insane. In terms of the GVM, you've got 4,495 kilograms for the 2500 and then 5,352 kilograms for the 3500. GCM up to 12,750 kilograms for the 2500 and 14,433 kilograms for the 3500. But you do have to be careful with the 3500. You'll need a different license, driving license, to drive that because it is so heavy duty. Payload 785 in the 2500, which is not actually that big, and then 1,652 in the 3500. They both have, they have different axle load ratings as well, as you can imagine. But the main sort of component change is the 2500 has coil springs at the back, while the 3500 has leaf springs. Both live axle though. The other major change for 2025 is an updated Cummins 6.7 litre turbo diesel inline six engine. It's been revised a fair bit. It's got a redesigned block and head, new turbo, and produces more power and torque than before. It's also connected up to an 8-speed automatic now, ZF-based 8-speed automatic. This thing's got so much torque that it takes off in second gear in regular driving conditions. I know some other vehicles do that as well, but yeah, it just gives you an idea of just how much torque it is. It just smoothly takes off like it's not even bothered. So if you hook a trailer up or something like that, chances are you won't even feel that it's on there. We are going to do some towing tests today, but this is mainly a sort of preview drive or a first steer drive at Lang Lang here, going around the road course. I took it out on the road as well, the public roads, just to get a bit of a feel for it, to see how it drives, how easy it is to manage in sort of narrow country road conditions. And look, to be honest, it seems pretty good. It's not a big, massive truck like you might expect. The new model's also got a taller diff ratio, and I guess that comes on the back of the engine producing a lot more torque than before. So you don't need as much, or you don't need to rely on as much gearing torque or mechanical torque. It just means when you're cruising along the highway, you don't need to push the pedal hardly at all. It just smoothly chugs along. Up at the back here, 6'4" bed, and I love the way that you've got anchor points or hooks down below as well as up above, so you can tie things down to the bed. A lot of the utes or dual cab utes, conventional ones out there at the moment, the hooks are mounted high up, especially at the front. And it just means that, yeah, when you're tying things down, say you've got a box, like a TV size box, a microwave size box, you can't really strap it down. You've got to like pull it against the corner and then sort of, yeah, whereas with the hooks down below like that, you can have a strap going over and pulling it down onto the bed. Spray and tub liner as standard with the Australian models, and the little portal window so you can yell at your mates while you're trying to reverse. Prices start from just over $170,000 in Australia, which is pretty expensive, but there's no point in looking at US prices and then trying to do a conversion and seeing, you know, how much profit they kind of make in Australia, because in Australia, the models that we get are very highly spec'd already. For example, it comes with the side step, a little lug on the edge there just to help get up into the tray area, the spray and tub liner. It also comes with that push-out step on the back corner there, and it is feature-packed inside. So to get this specification in America, you're going to be spending quite a bit anyway. It's also got the extending side mirrors, so these will just slide out for when you're towing, you can see around your trailer. And inside, yeah, absolutely feature-packed cabin. and obviously massive in here. This is different to the Ram 1500. I mean, it's similar in design language, but it's not the same. So you've got to remember or keep in mind that they've got to do the whole conversion all again in Australia to get the same fit and finish and all that sort of thing with a completely new model, even though it does look kind of the same. You've got a DPF gauge on the side there, or they call that DEF in America. Then up on the dash, a nice big touchscreen. It's probably one of my favorite touchscreens out there because it has lots of physical controls for all your main items around there. So you can turn the fan speed up, for example, the temperature and all of that, turn the aircon on or off. You've also got some towing buttons down here. And then you've got your main apps in a grid style layout and in a main menu down below. It's just very easy to operate. Your volume knob and all that. It's just got all the best bits that manufacturers offer right now. Excellent practicality as well. Twin wireless phone chargers, big slidable storage bucket. You could almost sit in there. Cup holders, twin level center armrest with more storage, twin glove boxes as well. An excellent fit and finish. Like, this is all feels very high quality. It doesn't feel like a typical dual cab diesel ute like a Hilux or whatever. It actually feels like a luxury vehicle. It's just in a kind of heavy duty pickup truck style, I guess. And up at the back, you know, one of the most spacious rear seat areas of any pickup truck on sale in Australia. Look at that massive cutaway for the center seat. I mean, you do have a slightly shorter seat section here, but it's still, you know, it probably looks like it's small, but it's actually probably the same size as a small hatchback or something like that. But the outer seats are just proper chairs, you know. These are not, you know, you're not relegated to a back seat environment. Decent amount of headroom, although this does have the sunroof and it does drop down a little bit and then go back up towards the back for your head. But yeah, I think I could sit back and relax here for a nice big road trip with no problem at all. You've got more than enough USB ports, 4 in fact, climate vents, cup holders, a flip down armrest with more cup holders, pockets in the backs of the seats and in the doors. All right, let's take it for a drive and see how it goes, and I'll see if I can do a performance test later on as well. All right, so we're just going to do a couple of laps around this tarmac course. It's designed to, you know, replicate a typical country road in Australia, give us a bit of an idea of how it handles and how it places on the road. So this is pretty narrow just here, and it's just in the lanes. It's not too bad though. The steering feels like it gives me communication to know where the front tires are placed. So it doesn't feel intimidating to drive, even though it is, you know, just over 6 meters long. Ride quality is pretty good in the 2500. As I said, the 3500's got the leaf springs, whereas this has got the coil springs in the back. It's, you know, it's jiggly. It's a heavy duty vehicle, but it's not as jiggly as some smaller utes. I guess the long wheelbase here would probably help a little bit with comfort and higher speed stability. The front end is pretty flat actually. It's not too bad for a big beast. But that engine, I love inline sixes, and yeah, this is a beauty. It's 6.7 litres, 313 kilowatts, almost 1500 newton meters of torque. Yeah, it's definitely a nice smooth engine. I tried balancing a 50-cent coin on the block while it was idling, and it did actually stay there for a few seconds, but windy day today kept pushing it over. But it was just giving you a bit of an idea of how smooth it is. It doesn't have any of that sort of diesel clatter. Very big pistons, being 6.7 litres. So it's yeah, it's actually pretty quiet for that capacity. Just give it some. I've got a nice 8-speed ZF gearbox. Improvement from the old 6-speed. I think 8's probably the maximum you need. Like the Ford F-150 with 10 speed is probably a bit too much, depending on, you know, what you're mainly using it for and where you're driving. I think 8 is a good balance. So obviously this is not meant for handling and sporty driving, but going around this narrow road, I'm staying on my left side. We can just go anywhere, but I just want to keep it in this lane just to see how difficult it is, and it's not. It's really not. It is large, as I said, but it doesn't feel too intimidating to drive. Just around here we've got some sort of wavy, sort of bumpy road section that really unbalances the car. See how it goes at speed. So it's about 110, 120. Not too bad at all. It's not floating about. The steering doesn't go all weird and light. It's actually pretty solidly planted, as you'd expect with such a massive curb weight. Just make sure these guys can see us. I'll just show you the kind of kick down performance. I'll just slow down a bit. Watch out for the kangaroos. So it's about 50 kilometers an hour, full throttle. Doesn't rev too high. Peak torque is available from 1800 RPM. That's just off idle and it's already getting that maximum just under 1500 Newton meters. So it's, yeah, you don't need to rev it. And it's be interesting to see what some tuner guys can do with this engine if they, you know, unlock a few more revs, because I reckon it would be absolutely nuts. I mean, there's no shortage of power. We'll do a 0 to 100 test in a minute. We'll see what sort of acceleration it offers, but there's definitely no shortage of power for this style of vehicle. You don't need it to be super fast, but this feels definitely fast enough, if not faster than what it needs to be. Good thing about having all that torque too is you, hook up a trailer, put some stuff in the back, and it's very unlikely to impact the engine performance. It's probably going to feel exactly the same. Now obviously this is not meant for hardcore off-roading, but you do have four-wheel drive with low range, and it's got the all-terrain tyres as standard, so you can you know, tow a trailer or whatever down a paddock road or something like that, access road, with confidence that you've got a bit of grip there. It doesn't have the sort of 4A mode that you get in a Ram 1500, so you can't drive on tarmac with four-wheel drive. I mean, you can, but you might wind up the axles and break something. You've got about 220 millimeters of ground clearance at the lowest point, which is not too bad. That's about the same as a conventional dual cab pickup truck or ute. But you just got to keep in mind this does have a longer wheelbase than those, so you're going to have a got to be careful of the breakover angle. The suspension's doing pretty good on the dirt though. This is, you know, not the smoothest bit of dirt road. It's got some bumps and little ruts and so on, and it's doing okay. There's a little bit of jiggling at the back, as you'd expect. Good traction even with all that torque. I mean, I still have the traction control on, but it's not going absolutely nuts. Yeah, pretty good. I mean, I guess you've got confidence in that, you know, this will go off the road. I just don't think it would do absolutely awesome in serious off-road conditions. All right, we've got a 3.5 ton caravan on the back. Just got an off-road hitch on it. We'll just have a bit of a preview of what it's like to tow, because after all, that's what these big heavy-duty vehicles are for. You can just use that torque. You don't even need to lean on the throttle to get things moving. Pulling onto a highway or something like that, just slow down to about 40 and just ease the power in, build it up to about 100 kilometers an hour. Yeah, look at that. It's not even, it's just pulling it, no problem at all. I can hardly feel that it's on the back. That's only about a quarter throttle or third throttle. We're at 100 easily. So that's what these vehicles are all about. You want something that's, you know, ideally you want the vehicle to be heavier than the thing you're towing, and this pretty much is. Well, it is in this case. 3.5 ton van, these have a curb weight of about 3.7, and it just makes it more stable and safer in the long run, I think, anyway. This has also got an engine braking feature. I've got it off at the moment, so you back off the pedal and it just coasts along like normal. You activate it though, and it just gives you that extra braking via the engine rather than using the kind of brake pads. I'll just back off. You can hear the engine rev a little bit, change down a gear or two. And it's just providing that, it's more stable, I think, but mainly it takes the pressure off the brake pads. especially handy if you're towing very heavy loads. Just to give you a bit of an idea of the sort of performance and acceleration, we'll do a 0 to 100 with the caravan on the back. Bit of wheel spin of all the torque. But look at that, that's building up speed almost like a you know, pretty average hatchback or something like that. We're doing 100. Cannot do that in any of the conventional dual cab diesel utes out there at the moment. Done 7.01.